Dear young brothers and sisters, I am extremely happy meeting with young people here. Whenever I met young people, I always telling them, now we are 21st century, so my generation belongs to 20th century, already gone. So my generation now ready to say bye-bye. Now this 21st century, only 10 years passed, 90 years yet to come. So when we look to the century, I think the most important century of human history, but at the same time, that century becomes really a violent century. According to some history, over 200 million people killed through war, through violence. If that immense violence really solves human problem, then okay, there could be some legitimacy there. But that also not there. Even I think the beginning of the 21st century, some crisis like Iraq crisis, Afghanistan crisis, and many terrorist problems is the symptom of some mistake in the 20th century and also negligence in 20th century. So we must look forward with some new ideas, new visions, new method. So your generation, you are the people or generation who can create new shape of world. Of course, Sikkim here, very small state. But you are part of nearly 7 billion human beings. So when we talk about humanity or society, that is individual combination. That is because of the community or society or humanity. So you are also part of that. So you can make some as a contribution. So therefore, firstly, you must think the more holistic way. If rest of the world or rest of India not very peaceful, not very good, then Sikkim no way to escape. So India, if rest of the world some problems, India cannot escape. So that's the today's reality. In ancient time, we Tibetan, beyond this snow mountains, we carry certain activities with narrow-minded. Okay, doesn't matter. You, Sikkimese, I think with kasa chud, kasa kuzichat kasa. Chang dong che, not much bother what happening at the other side. That kind of thinking is gone. Now we must think whole group as one entity. So each individual community's future depends on the rest of the world. So you must think broadly, and you should have vision. So here, I usually describe 20th century becomes century of warfare, century of violence. Now, this century, in order to create this century, peaceful century, we must promote, we must create concept of dialogue should be part of our life. Because the peaceful century does not mean no longer any problem. Problem there, problem bound to happen.
So whenever we face some problem, and we must utilize a non-violent way to face this problem, to solve this problem. That's a dialogue. Since entire world, so each community, each individual's interest related with the rest of the world, therefore, I think century-old, very concept we and they, very strong we and they, that gone. We must consider entire world as a part of we. So with that sort of reality, any problem within we must solve that through dialogue, through talk, mutual respect, mutual understanding. So we must build this century of dialogue. Through that way, then there is a real possibility to, possibility this century becomes century of peace. So for that, firstly, education, very important. Then education, like our professions, these are just like instrument. Whether use that instrument destructive way, constructive way, depend on warm heart, warm heartedness there, and all our sort of knowledge can be constructive. Here, full of fear, full of distrust, full of anger, all our professions then become destructive. I think you know, there's some of these key persons who create these terrorist sort of activities. These key persons, as far as their brain is concerned, very smart. They calculate all their sort of activities step by step, very precisely. So their mind is very smart, but their motivation full of hatred. So all their sort of wonderful sort of person, guy, wonderful brain, smart brain, really become source of destruction. So you must pay equally because of the attention, warm-heartedness. Should not consider warm-heartedness or compassionate thinking is something religious matter. Should not think that way. It is human value. So long we are human being, as a social animal, the cooperation, unity is key factor. For unity, cooperation, trust, friendship is the key factor. So therefore, we really need openness and respect for others' right. That's very important. So that's the one aspect in order to carry all your knowledge more constructive way. Then another thing, you need vision. Should not think just your own family, just own small sort of area. Think about a global level. Because the reality, everything interdependent, as I mentioned before. So you need vision. And vision, the later part of this century should be a genuine, peaceful world. So one important sort of factor in this world can be demilitarized world. My friend, or almost my tutor, a quantum physics tutor, a German professor, von Weizsäcker, I think I heard this once he expressed, since the new reality now no longer need foreign ministry and defense ministry, we should deal with all different countries like domestic sort of that, because of work, like that. Then in the past, Costa Rica, actually demilitarized. When I think two or three occasions I visited there, the police force, small police force, and a few mortars, and then small weapons. I think 2 or 3 helicopters, no military forces. So compare other neighboring states in Central America and South America, that small nation, the Costa Rica, economic condition much better, education much better, because all their resources utilized for peaceful purpose. Some similar nation, they spend a lot of money for defense. Look, some African state, the people, some cases facing starvation, but spend a lot of money for weapon. And civil war, endless civil war, these things happen. So we must think the whole world eventually should be a demilitarized world. Like that. So these are, I think, part of the vision, right? So that I want to tell you. Otherwise, nothing. Some questions now, or some suggestions, or some criticisms. You should consider me just like you. We are same. Emotionally, mentally, physically, we are same. We should think we are same. So therefore, you see, no need, because of the protocol survey, formality, no need for formality, complete informal way we can discuss. Now, open. Questions?
Question? Please raise your hand if you have any question.
Oh.
Your Holiness, we would be feel grateful if you enlighten us about Vipassana meditation.
Oh. What? What rest of the audience? Do you have some interest or not? Vipassana? That's a big subject. The meaning of Vipassana, generally speaking, one level of Vipassana is common between Buddhism, Buddha Dharma, and Hinduism, common. Another level of Vipassana, something unique about Buddhism. Within that, Vipassana, according to Sutrayana, one category. And in Tantrayana, particularly the Mahanutara Yoga Tantrayana, you see, another level of Vipassana. So there are many differences. But basically, generally, Vipassana means investigation. Samadhi means without investigation, without investigate, just concentrate, single pointed. That is Samadhi. Vipassana, on that basis, your mind, through training, your mind have the ability to fix one subject. Then further, without any distractions away. Distraction. Just on that particular point, investigation. That's Vipassana. Okay? Then if you go more detailed, then it takes, I think, weeks. Difficult. Next question. But I really appreciate the first question. There's something because of the important subject.
Your Holiness, Namaskar. Can your mystic smile or aura, it can be proved or not? Is it possible?
Karsa. What? Repeat what?
Is there sixth sense, intuitions, or I can say your mystic smile or aura. Is it possible, scientifically proved? To prove?
가자.
Intuition.
Scientifically proved.
No, I don't think. Even myself do not know what's the meaning of aura. I don't know. Some people say, oh, certain people have certain sort of aura. I don't know.
Your Holiness, I'm a Tibetan, but I'll speak in English so everyone follows here. In your book, first of all, before I ask you the question, you are God to me. So when I'm speaking to you, I'm shivering and trembling. So please forgive me my trembling and shivering and nervousness. In your book, The Art of Happiness, you along with another co-author, you have spoken about meditation on compassion. And I'm a teacher with IFA University Sikkim here. And during the course of my responsibility as a teacher, I found many of the students, they somehow, I don't know, I'm not saying lacking, but somehow they are not realizing, they are not in touch with that compassion, sense of compassion. So if you could kindly walk us, all of us through right now with your compassion meditation, it would be really, really helpful to all students plus the faculty members who are present here. Thank you so much.
가자. 잠지고. Just yesterday, sort of meeting with scientists, the great scientist, well-known scientist. I think 2 years ago, the Zamuli Kera Mitya said in a letter, the consent.
He was counted as one of the greatest scientists among 100 scientists.
But scientists, Mata.
No. 100
great sort of famous sort of people.
Famous people.
His name included. About 2 years ago, by the way, about 2 years ago. I think Times or Newsweek or Times? Time magazine. I know him since many years. Real scientist, very open-minded, and to every object he really sees objectively. Very nice person. So his presentation yesterday, how much benefit out of training of compassion. Not talking about next life or nirvana or heaven, simply as a result of training of mind and mainly some kind of training of compassion. As a student, even within 3 weeks of a 3 week sort of training, the significant sort of what's the positive change you see take place. That he in his presentation yesterday. So these yesterday I also mentioned we need certain sort of practical approach for promotion of compassion through secular way, not touching religious sort of what's the concept. People usually, when we say compassion, then they feel that's a religious matter. So I can manage without compassion. That kind of sort of view is, I think, due to lack of proper education. I think basically the modern education system which exists in this country actually introduced by Britisher. So the education system come from West. So in West also, in ancient time, of course, separate education institution, some of the university in Europe, like Italy, University Bologna, or like Bologna University in Italy, 1,000-year-old. So when separate education institutions started, the moral ethics side, the church took full responsibility. So a newly developed education institution, no sort of responsibility about moral ethics. So just knowledge, brain here. So that's the way the education system developed. And meantime, last more than, I think, around 200-300 years, the science and technology is really brought big change. The people really appreciate the technology, a certain thing which we want immediately brought there. And I think the poverty much removed, ignorance much removed, and everything become much easier. So the technology becomes something very important matter. So education also along that, right? Modern education mainly related with material development, not inner development. So therefore, the existing education system here is questionable whether really adequate or not. So during Indira Gandhiji's time, I had some discussion with Indira Gandhiji, the education system. Particularly, I mentioned the Himalayan range, who have traditionally certain sort of Buddhist culture there. So because my first visit, Spiti, the one day in morning, the local DC and SP came to see me, and then we spent, I think half an hour on a sunny day, so everybody enjoy the sun ray. So then the SP and the DC, expressed to me that these local people, no record of crime, very peaceful. Then they say, now more contact with plain,
People from the plain.
People from plain. They really feel some concern on this certain sort of very peaceful community, no record of crime that may disturb, they mentioned. So therefore, afterward, when on my sort of meeting with Indira Gandhiji, I mentioned India in general, particularly in those areas where Buddhist sort of culture, heritage very strong. So the education in these areas, we should examine. And then Indira Gandhiji also fully agreed that. She actually mentioned the name of few professors, some Delhi University. Original our hope to set up small sort of group and carry more research work. Then soon Indira Gandhi assassinated, like that. So many occasions, some Indian, really well-educated Indian, sharing these kind of sort of concerns. So that's why now I think best thing is I usually they use the reason according to our common sense, common experience, then scientific findings. These three things use to make clear the warm-heartedness important. Compassion or warm-heartedness or human affection is very, very important. So I usually used to telling people, I have certain amount of compassion. This firstly, I learned from my mother. So you everybody, you see, come from one's own mother. So as soon as we're born, the child, no idea who is that person, but emotionally or biologically, we totally rely on that person. The mother side also, no matter what sort of, at that moment, a little dirty or these things, mother immediately provide maximum affection with her milk. So those children who receive maximum affection on that period, they deep inside that person much happier. And those persons, I am quite sure, those troublemaker, including a terrorist, if we investigate deeper, many of them, I think at a young age, I think lack of mother's affection, mother or some other sort of affection. So they grown up fear, some kind of lonely. So therefore, in order to build healthy human being, at the beginning, mother's affection is very, very important. That's our common experience. Then common sense, you think more, look, your neighbor or your classmate, those your friend whose family very affectionate family, then those students much happier when they come into the class, very joyful, playful. And those students who receive cool sort of atmosphere, cool treatment in their family, or some cases bully, then these students, when they attend the class, I think you can see on their face what kind of sort of experience in their home. So mentally very harmful to proper development, and physically also proper development difficult. So whole rest of their life remain cold person, cold person. That easily develop frustration, that develop anger, doubt, fear, and anger, then violence. So worst case, depression, suicide. So this, our common experience, because of the common sense, if you judge, if you look people, generally speaking, many Chinese noticed Tibetan people much peaceful, much friendly, much compassionate than Chinese Han people. Many Chinese noticed that. Same human being, as I mentioned earlier. Same human emotion, same human, human mind. But because of the cultural heritage, where more compassionate cultural heritage there, the people much more peaceful, much more calm. And China, great nation, 5,000-year-old civilization, but last 60 years, and even before that, too much sort of suffering, civil war, and exploitation, suppression. I think to some extent, I think a communist revolution really, I think, justified. Too much cruel. And then eventually the communists themselves also become very much sort of cruel. So Chinese people really suffer a lot. So therefore, people who come from that kind of community, that kind of society, very cool. So I'm happy. So like that. So these are the factors already. Factors. You can tell student. Then yesterday's the scientist was a great scientist for presentation. Very helpful. You get some copy, don't worry.
I'm sure you can get a copy of it.
So I think a few words, as a result of my sort of discussion with scientists, some scientists even state constant hatred actually eating our immune system. And then calm mind, based on compassion, very good for our body's health. So our results of one scientific sort of our meeting, the slogan, healthy mind, healthy body. So healthy mind, more compassionate mind is healthy mind, because that brings calm mind, and then see everything more objective. Too much distorted sort of emotion, too much sort of disturbed emotion, like fear, anger. You cannot see the things, the reality. You cannot see objectively. So for investigation, for general education, calm mind is very sort of important factor. Then for healthy body. And then sometimes I also see telling female, and particularly those girls now, young girls, seems now, because of cosmetics survey, seems to be no one, you see, using these things. No? So some ladies, you see, really, you see, make a lot of sort of cosmetics wear. So that only for external beauty. Real important is internal beauty. Those couple who just take marriage on the basis of external beauty, within a few days, quarrel start. Worst thing, after a few sort of enjoyment, and then one child. Then eventually divorce. The child suffer immense. So these are due to lack of inner beauty. I have one story. In early 60s, one Tibetan monk official who eventually disrobed. So I teasing him, "Oh, your wife, not that much attractive." I teased him, and his response is, "Oh yes, externally not that much sort of attractive, but the person, really wonderful person." So I have no further argument. So inner beauty, isn't it? Both sides, male and female, inner beauty is most important. So we spend a lot of money for cosmetic, for external beauty. No one pays much attention about the inner beauty. So these are wrong. So you can tell your student these reasons, these factors. And then politicians who really caring, work, transparent. Transparency, very much related with honest, truthful. Person, or even religious leader, carry their duty because of the sincerely, truthfully, honestly. There's nothing to hide. So it can be transparent. That built trust from public. So politicians write, that bring more favorable votes, isn't it? The politician or religious leader, hypocrisy. Sometimes the religious leader, like myself, say, pretend be very holy. Deep inside, nothing holy. So hypocrisy. Such things are really great damage about sort of the matter of trust. So here also, more compassionate sort of feeling. You have sort of attitude, respect others, and more concern of their well-being. So there's no room to cheat. There's no room to bully, because you respect them. You take genuine care of well-being of them. So in order to build healthy society, healthy politician, healthy religious leader, these are key factors. Okay. Do you agree?
Very much.
Oh, then okay. Next question.
Hello. Good evening.
Oh yeah.
Good evening. I'm a Tibetan born here in Sikkim. As are my friends Srinjing me and Samduk. First, I would just like to say, Kundi, that all of us and many youths like us fully support your middle way of approach.
Yes.
Autonomy for Tibet. My question to you, His Holiness, is regardless of time, can samsara, including the form realm, the desire realm, and the formless realm, come to an end?
Among the scholars, including Lama Tsongkhapa, see, he was the group of scholars who believe no end of samsara. Individually, yes, there's always possibility of end. But as a sentient being whole, because sentient being limitless, therefore, the end of samsara is difficult. The other group of scholars say, since individual case, there's possibility of ending samsara. So the humanity, sentient being, also combination of individual. So theoretically, there's possibility of end. So this is hypothetical survey. Hypothetical question, not much relevant. But in any way, I'm very happy. You see, you express your support about our middle approach. Now, I want to share with you the background of the middle approach. Historically, we Tibet, a separate country. So my public sort of statement, many occasions, I stated, as far as past history is concerned, there's different sort of versions. Chinese version, individual Chinese version, government version, communist government version, and Tibetan version, and Western scholars or legal experts version. There are differences. But world is changing. So we must look forward. Then, basically, as the late Queen Mother of England, I think 1996 I met. So at that time, her age also 96. She born, I think, 1901. So since she observed whole century, so I asked her whether humanity or world is it becoming better or remain same or worse. Without hesitation, she mentioned better. Reason she mentioned, when she was young, hardly no one talk about human right or right of self-determination. Now these things become universal, she mentioned. So it is true. Many colonial country become independence. And in some cases, through right of self-determination, become independence. Some cases, some sort of the revolutionary way. So in any way, things are changing. Then look, European Union. Previously, each sort of state, their citizens sacrifice their own life for their own sovereignty. Now, they become more mature, more sort of holistic thinking. So they consider common interest is more important than individual sovereignty. So European Union created. Adenauer and de Gaulle and some other, they really built this new, new reality of European Union. Now at this moment some problems about Euro, but basically you see that idea is to come. Then this country, late Ajaya Binobabaji, once he expressed idea of ABC, that means A, Afghanistan, B, Burma, C, Ceylon, that time Ceylon called Sri Lanka, then India, Pakistan, some kind of federal, right? So these visions are really, I think, because of the far-sighted sort of vision. So these I very much attracted. So now, case of Tibet, small country, landlocked country, economically, materially, very backward. Every Tibetan want modernize. And I publicly telling people, Tibetan, very much spiritual-minded people, yet Tibetan loves money. So the illegal immigration to United States, to Canada, to Europe, not to seek spirituality, but seek money. It's a fact. If we say, oh, we are very holy, it's hypocrisy. We need money. So modernized Tibet is our own sort of interest. So as far as modernized Tibet, materially, remain within the people of China is our interest. I think independent Tibet, I think impossible to build this railway because of the railway link and some other sort of construction. However, the problem is we love our culture, we love our language. Language and culture is concerned, we more advanced than Chinese culture and Chinese language. That's sure. As far as our language is concerned, Tibetan language is the best, only language which can describe thoroughly about Buddhist philosophy. Chinese language, no. Very clear. Since I had a lot of contact with Chinese Buddhists and Japanese Buddhists, Korean Buddhists and Vietnamese Buddhists, it had become very clear. Tibetan Buddhism is the most complete and most precise sort of understanding. So our language, Tibetan language, Sikkimese also, I think you should learn what you call a Buddhist language, or anyway, what you call the Kanjur Dangerous letter. That language must learn. If you really no interest about Tibetan language, then Kanjur Dangerous throw out. That you can't do, isn't it? You do not want. So you want to keep Kanjur Dangerous. Kanjur Dangerous should not think price. Maybe, you see, because a few thousand, right? Not thinking that way as a possession. Possession. But if you consider something sacred book, then you must learn the Tibetan. Then the Ganju Tenyu is really our text, our Bible. Christian brothers, sisters, you see, they're very much sort of reading, always reading the Bible. So, Buddhist Bible is Ganju, about 100 volumes, and commentary about 200 volumes. These are real our text. So we have our own language, our own rich culture, peaceful culture, compassionate culture. So therefore, preservation for Tibetan Buddhist culture is not only 6 million Tibetan people's interest, but millions of people in Central Asia, no question. So, present short-sighted sort of leaders or policy, they try to eliminate Tibetan cultural heritage, including Tibetan language. So therefore, we fight, we carry struggle. We must have meaningful autonomy. And we should have full authority regarding preservation of our own culture, our own spirituality, and full care about our environment. So, China really want Tibet to remain within the people of China. They must give us some meaningful autonomy. Then we willingly remain within the people of China. In order to keep Tibet within the people of China, using gun, short method, short-sighted. Last 60 years, they heavily rely on using weapon. Now today, more than 99% of Tibetan, including non-believer, including communist, totally against the Chinese rule. So as a result of their ruthless sort of policy. So they know, some leaders now, they already know, and many Chinese intellectuals, they know they are up to date, up to now, right? Up to now, and the policy which they carry up to now is mistake. Now, for example, last over two years, you see, we notice article in Chinese language, wrote by Chinese, more than 1,000 articles. All the articles fully support about our middle wave approach, very critical about their own government policy. So some top leaders, I think last year, I think within the last 2 years, some top leaders publicly expressed now it is necessary to carry review for their policy regarding different nationalities. Even some top communist leaders, mentioned like that. These are, things are changing. So therefore, since support from Chinese public side there, so that also achievement. If we insist independence, then these Chinese emotionally difficult to support. Clear? So the final sort of solution must find between Tibetan and Chinese, no other one. Even the United Nations cannot do much, cannot do much, right? Too much, no, like that. So therefore, one time in early '59, Pandit Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, he told me, finally, Tibetan issue must be solved by Tibetan people themselves. 1950, he mentioned in the parliament, like that. So these are really democratic principles, and he, I think, really realistically expressed these things. So China is changing. Now today, and obviously everybody know, now Chinese Communist Party, a very unique Communist Party, because a Communist Party without communist ideology. It's wonderful, is it? Capitalist communist. So totally against their original idea, isn't it? So that's wonderful. Big change. So things are changing there. Our side, Tibetan side, last 60 years, same position, right? Basically same position. Because we have truth. We can carry transparently. When we met Chinese, same sort of talk. When we met our supporters in the West, same sort of that language, same talk. When I talk Tibetan, same. The Chinese communists, even their official sort of news magazines on these, English version, Chinese version, different. Tibetan version, different. Why? Because there's no truth. So they're always telling lie, distorted information, like that. So that's the real sign of weakness. Our side, sign of strength, full self-confidence, no need hypocrisy. The communists there, full of hypocrisy. Some high officials, military as well as civilian. So officially, they criticize me as a demon. But privately, their personal mobile phone, my picture keep. Hypocrisy. So only matter of time, things will change. So must keep our determination, our willpower, very important. Next question? Yes? Yeah?
College student. Recently in your talk with Recently, with your talk, in your talk with Barkadat in NDTV, you mentioned that your lifespan has been predicted as 113 years. So that night, I with my sister had a small debate in that matter. Like she was of the notion that it is disadvantage if our lifespan is predicted. Like if our lifespan is predicted, then me and my sister had a small debate, discussions.
Oh yes.
And my sister is of the notion that it is disadvantage if our lifespan has been predicted, because rest of the life we'll spend rest of the life fulfilling our dreams, like we want this, we want that, and all these things, and we won't find a peace of mind in our life. But I, on the other hand, is of the notion that it is advantageous, because we'll get a time to fulfill our dreams, we'll get a time to fulfill our dreams and all these things. So my question is like, what is your perspective on this matter, whether it is advantageous or disadvantageous?
Actually, actually, you say, that was my answer. Based on, I think, actually I mentioned the one Lungde prediction. One prediction, I think about 200 years ago, she mentioned one person that many Tibetan spiritual leaders is considered that's a prediction about me. So there it mentioned their lifespan of that person will be 130. So then again, see, in early 60, according to my own dream, some indication, my lifespan 130. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm always transparent. So I mentioned that. So now your question, that's up to individual. If one individual like you better to know lifespan, and then think that way, and your sister feel not doesn't want to know that, and she carry that way. That's no problem. So no need argument. So actually, in Buddhism, Buddha taught different philosophy, different view. These views, if you look literally, contradictory views. So I often is telling the people, audience, with respect to Buddha, these contradictory philosophy taught by Buddha, same person, contradictory philosophy, not out of Buddha's own confusion. Buddha enlightened, say, no possibility of confusion in his mind. Nor he deliberately tried to create more confusion among his disciples. No. He's full compassionate. Then answer is, because among his audience, his follower, different mental disposition. Therefore, it is necessary to teach or to talk, to show different views according to individual mental disposition. So that means Buddhism, Buddha respect individual right, individual thinking. So therefore, your two sisters come from same mother, but different body, different mind, different view. Understandable, no problem.
His Holiness, my question is very small, but maybe this question will attract everybody here. Well, I've been listening right from my childhood that if anybody asks, what is the goal of your life? Somebody would say that the goal of my life is to become an engineer or doctor or IAS or whatever. So maybe this is the material material goal of life. So what I wanted to know from you, His Holiness, is what should the goal of life, real life, of any individual in this modern context? Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, different professions and with high salary, that's the real our goal. Of course, the very purpose of high salary, high sort of living standard, meant for happy life. So now here, real sort of source of happiness is not on matter, not on money, not on fame, not on physical, but mental level. I think to some extent I can tell you, I lost my own country. There's a lot of problems. Last 51 years, I think at my age 16, I lost my freedom. And inexperienced, modern educated, nothing. I carried the responsibility to look after Tibetan people. And Chinese invasion already started. Difficult period. Therefore, I say I lost my freedom. Then my age 24, I lost my own country. Last 51 years, so that almost every occasion when we receive some information from Tibet, always heartbreaking news. Of course, occasionally some sort of positive, that mainly positive Tibetan spirit, as I mentioned earlier, very strong, very, very sort of encouraging situation. Otherwise, very bad, very sad. So usually I in short, usually I describe Tibetan, one ancient nation with ancient cultural heritage now dying. So very much sort of what's the sad things. However, my emotional level, calm, happy. And as a Buddhist, particularly the student of Nagarjuna, we must be realistic. When things become difficult, accept that. As Shandadeva stated, when we face some problem, investigate that problem, nature of that problem. If that problem can overcome through effort, then no need to worry. If that problem, no way to overcome, then no use to worry. Very realistic approach. So use human intelligence properly, wisely. Try, in order to keep our emotion mind calm. Then, no matter what the situation, you can be a happy person and also useful for other people. So that should be considered goal. Then become rich, good, more help to other people. Remain poor, oh, okay, less work, less worry. Then 2 hands there. Try to help other people as much as you can and share with others suffering. Then individual life become meaningful life. Whether believer or non-believer, so long our life remain there, remain that way. Then the last day, you feel very happy. You can proudly say goodbye. Otherwise, too many money in bank, you may feel very worried. Now, after my death, that money where go? Isn't it? Do you agree? Like that. So, now 3. Okay, one last, 3 questions. Okay, then okay, I can, so many questions, yes.
Please, Holiness, I would like to ask you, why is it that in the 21st century, Buddhism is spreading very rapidly throughout the world, especially in Latin America, Germany and China, and especially the Chinese government, it has constituted a committee headed by Wang Bangdal, the professor at Peking University. So why is it that even Chinese people, they are trying to embrace Buddhism? So what could be the change in the strategy?
Yes, it is true. In Australia, there's some my friend, many friends, it's the same view. In Australia, basically Christian country, but the fastest growing religion is Buddhism. I think, although I always stress the people from different country must keep their own tradition, their own traditional religious faith. So when I give some lecture on Buddhism in the West, I always make clear, you should keep your Judeo-Christian background, Judeo-Christian faith. Changing religion is not easy, not good. Here again I have this one story. In early 60s, the Tibetan refugee community, then very difficult sort of situation. Many of them road worker, including in Sikkim, in Gangtok area, also a lot of road worker. And then in Kulu, in Chamba, in this area, many road workers. So very difficult. So one Tibetan lay official, he posting in western part of Tibet, so he easily come to India with his family. so his wife, and 2 or 3 children. So then, eventually, that official, lay official, passed away. His wife and small 2, 3 children remain. Very difficult situation. So then, at that time, Christian organization, immense help. I think almost feeding the entire Tibetan refugee community. Of course, besides government of India would help. This is the Christian missionary sort of organization, Catholic Service Red, and many other really help us immensely. So then, that lady also received a lot of help. And then eventually, 2 or 3 children, their education, also you see, take care by some missionary, missionaries. So then I think early 60, maybe 64, 63, 65, maybe 60, I think 63. One day she came to see me and she told her stories. Then she told me, now this life, now I become Christian. But next life, I should be Buddhist. What is that? It is clearly a sign of confusion, isn't it? Oh. So deep inside, she still loves Buddhism. But another level of mind, he really appreciates Christians. So she becomes Christian. So therefore, it is much safer, much better keep one's own tradition. Therefore, I always telling the people in the Himalayan sort of the belt, traditionally Buddhist, so should preserve Buddhist faith. It's much safer, much suitable. So in any way, now my question is, Buddhism, particularly Sanskrit tradition, is very much based on reasons, investigation. So from that viewpoint, not blind faith, comparatively. I'm not saying the other tradition are blind faith or something of that backward. I never said that. Immense help. So I always respect. However, if you make comparison, the Sanskrit tradition, Buddhism in general, particularly the Sanskrit tradition, is, say, entirely based on investigation. I often recite one Buddhist sort of statement. Oh, my follower, bhikshus and others should not accept my teaching out of devotion, out of faith, but rather out of investigation and experiment. This is a very scientific statement. So Nagarjunas and all these great Nalanda masters, they follow that way. Investigate. Even certain point which mentioned by Buddha himself. If through investigation, if that sort of concept contradicts with reason, then we have the liberty to reject that. As I mentioned earlier, Buddha taught for a certain purpose, but that is not the reality. So that's, I think, a very unique thing about Buddhism. Then, generally, Buddha, of course, all major religious traditions, like Hinduism, Jainism, very much sort of emphasis ahimsa, non-violence. And Christianity, and also Islam, Judaism, and all major traditions, their main message, love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, contentment, self-discipline, service to people. I think in reality, Christian community, I think really because of the made greatest contribution regarding education on the whole world, not other traditions. Recently, the Ramakrishnan sort of missionary work for sort of promotional education. Otherwise, Buddhists also is not much involved regarding the service to society, through education, through health. Very limited. So Christians really done greatest sort of contribution regarding education and health. However, most of these religions is based on faith. Buddhism, not like that, particularly Sanskrit tradition. That is, including scientists, more attractions come because of that. Buddhist way of thinking, particularly Sanskrit tradition, Nalanda tradition, way of thinking, is a very much scientific way. So more and more educated people, you see, showing interest. The Chinese case is something different. China, historically, Buddhist country. So thousands temples, monasteries in China. When I visited China, 1954, 55, a lot of temples. So traditionally, like Smt Mo, his family, his mother, Buddhist. Chiang Kai-shek, Kuomintang sort of a leader, his family also, his sort of, the mother also Buddhist. Oh yes, I know. So that the Buddhist mother's son eventually become communist, and another Buddhist mother's son eventually become Christian because of marriage, like that. So otherwise, the China, historically Buddhist country, and then during, as the last now say, I think since early 50s, that's quite different. When I was in China, I really attracted Marxism and Communist Party. So much admire. So therefore, when I was in Peking, of course I studied Marxism, some extent, and also meet many Communist Party members, really dedicated. Even in India, in early period of the West Bengal Communist government, now, some civil servant, you see, told me in early period, their leaders, these politicians are really with principle. They're acting according to their principle. Then later, they also become corrupted. So at that time, I very much attracted Communist Party. So I made one request. I want to join Chinese Communist Party. Then they say, better wait. I think most probably they know eventually Chinese Communist Party spoiled. Because that useless party, right? Just a name. So still, as far as socio-economy theory is concerned, I am still Marxist. So Marxist, Buddhist, okay, like that. So therefore, a lot of sort of turbulence in China, particularly during Cultural Revolution, and really make every effort become pure theistic, monotheistic, pure atheist state. Then people suffer a lot. And then after economy sort of liberalization, a lot of corruption, a lot of injustice. So people, poor people, also you see, frustrated. And the richer people, also you see, now they have some money, but deep inside something missing, something empty. So recently, one Chinese university carried a survey, how many Buddhists in China. According to their survey, nearly 300 millions of Chinese Buddhists. An American, I think, one institution, again carried some survey. According to them, 168 million or something like that. So in any way, they're rapidly increasing because of the Buddhist population in China. So that's true, like that. And these type of people, young, educated people, and intellectual people, more and more showing interest or desire follow Buddhism, like that. So now last question, just one last question.
His Holiness,
Oh,
I
sure.
want to ask one question.
Oh yes.
Yeah. This question from my college student side. You just tell us internal beauty and external beauty. What is the real internal beauty? How will they get their internal beauty? Willpower, determination, achievement, and perfect human being.
가사 인연 뷰티 가져자. 알로? More affectionate mind. I think that's really inner beauty. That's the real thing. Then, for example, so marriage, just on the basis of physical attraction, married without knowing the other sort of partner's the reality, real person, then the marriage will not be, most cases, a long-lasting marriage. So, know the person, the real nature of the person, more sensible, more sense of responsibility, more sort of compassionate, then your sort of marriage can be long-lasting marriage. So that's mainly inner beauty. In any way, certain emotion which brings calm, so ease, stability, or less fear. That's the positive sort of emotion. That's the inner beauty. Like that. So, thank you.
Dear young brothers and sisters, I am extremely happy meeting with young people. Yeah. Whenever I met young people, I always telling them, now we are 21st century, so my generation belongs to 20th century, already gone. So my generation now ready to say bye-bye. Now this is the 21st century, only 10 years passed, 90 years yet to come. So when we look to the century, I think the most important century of human history, but at the same time, that century becomes really a violent century. According to some history, over 200 million people killed through war, through violence. If that immense violence really solves human problem, then okay, there could be some legitimacy there. But that also not there. Even I think beginning of 21st century, some crisis like Iraq crisis, Afghanistan crisis, and many terrorist problems is the symptom of some mistake in the 20th century and also negligence in 20th century. So we must look forward with some new ideas, new visions, new method. So your generation, you are the people or generation who can create new shape of world. Of course, Sikkim here very small state. But you are part of nearly 7 billion human beings. So when we talk about humanity or society, that is individual combination. That is because of the community or society or humanity. So you are also part of that. So you can make some sort of reality, any problem within we must solve that through dialogue, through talk, mutual respect, mutual understanding. So we must build this century of dialogue. Through that way, then there is a real possibility to, because of that, possibility this century becomes century of peace. So for that, firstly, education, very important. Then education, like our professions, these are just like instrument. Whether use that instrument destructive way, constructive way, depend on own heart, own heartness there, and all our sort of knowledge can be constructive. Here, full of fear, full of distrust, full of anger, all our professions then become destructive. I think you know there's some of these key persons who create these terrorist sort of activities. These key persons, as far as their brain is concerned, very smart. They calculate all their sort of activities step by step, very precisely. So their mind is very smart, but their motivation full of hatred. So all their sort of, because of the wonderful sort of guy, wonderful brain, smart brain, really become source of destruction. So you must pay equally, because of the attention, warm-heartedness. Should not consider warm-heartedness or compassionate thinking is something religious matter. Should not think that way. It is human value. So long we are human being, so long we are human being as a social animal, the cooperation, unity is key factor. For unity, cooperation, trust, friendship is the key factor. So therefore, we really need openness and respect for others' right. That's very as a contribution. So therefore, firstly, you must think the more holistic way. If rest of the world or rest of India not very peaceful, not very good, then Sikkim no way to escape. So India, if rest of the world some problems, India cannot escape. So that's today's reality. In ancient time, we Tibetan, beyond this snow mountains, we carry certain activities with narrow-minded. Okay, doesn't matter. You Sikkimese, I think with kasa kudushad kasa chang dong che not much bother what happening at the other side. That kind of thinking is gone. Now we must think whole group as one entity. So each individual community's future depends on the rest of the world. So you must think broadly, and you should have vision. So here, I usually describe 20th century becomes century of warfare, century of violence. Now this century, in order to create this century
peaceful century, we must promote and we must sort of create concept of dialogue should be part of our life. Because the peaceful century does not mean no longer any problem. Problem there, problem bound to happen. So whenever we face some problem, we must utilize a non-violent way to face this problem, to solve this problem. That's a dialogue. Since entire world, so each community, each individual's interest related with the rest of the world, therefore, I think century-old very concept we and they, very strong we and they, that gone. We must consider entire world as a part of we. So with that, we must think the whole world eventually should be a demilitarized world. Like that. So these are, I think, part of the vision. Right? So that I want to tell you. Otherwise, nothing. Some questions now, or some suggestions, or some criticisms. You should consider me just like you. We are same. Emotionally, mentally, physically, we are same. We should think we are same. So therefore, there is no need, because of the protocol survey, formality, no need for formality, complete informal way we can discuss. Now, open. Questions?
Question? Please raise your hand if you have any question.
Oh.
Your Holiness, we would be feel grateful if you enlighten us about Vipassana meditation.
Oh. What? What rest of the audience? Do you have some interest or not? Vipassana? That's a big subject. The meaning of Vipassana, generally speaking, one level of Vipassana is common between Buddhism, Buddha Dharma, and Hinduism, common. Another level of Vipassana, something unique about Buddhism. Within that, Vipassana, according to Sutrayana, one category. And in Tantrayana, particularly the Mahanuttara Yoga Tantrayana, you see, another level of Vipassana. So there are many differences. But basically, generally, Vipassana means investigation. Samadhi means without investigation, without investigate, just concentrate, single-pointed. That is Samadhi. Vipassana, on that basis, important. So, that's the one aspect in order to carry all your knowledge more constructive way. Then another thing, you need vision. Should not think just your own family, just own small sort of area. Think about a global level. Because the reality, everything interdependent, as I mentioned before. So you need vision. And vision, the later part of this century should be a genuine, peaceful world. So one important sort of factor in this world can be demilitarized world. My friend, or almost my tutor, a quantum physics tutor, a German professor, von Weizsäcker. I think I heard this once he express since the new reality now no longer need foreign ministry and defense ministry. We should deal with all different countries like domestic sort of that, because of work, like that. Then in the past, Costa Rica actually demilitarized. When I think two or three occasions I visited there, the police force, small police force, and a few mortars, and then small weapons. I think 2 or 3 helicopters, no military forces. So compare other neighboring states in Central America and South America, that small nation, the Costa Rica, economic condition much better, education much better, because all their resources utilized for peaceful purpose. Some similar nation, they spend a lot of money for defense. Look, some African state, the people, some cases facing starvation, but spend a lot of money for weapon. And civil war, endless civil war, these things happen. So